Joining us now with her expectations is Gina Raimondo. While she is the current Commerce Secretary, she joins us this morning in her personal capacity. She's the former governor, of course, of Rhode Island and a surrogate for the Harris campaign. Good morning to you. For those of us who will be watching tomorrow evening, I don't know if there's a scorecard or something that you're going to be watching for, but is there something in particular that you think that we should all be noting?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I think what we should note is overall, you will see a Vice President Harris who's a woman she's a practical problem solver. She just wants to get the job done. She has a vision, and she's crystal clear that her vision is one where everybody in America has opportunity. And so what that means is, she's going to have a tax policy that helps workers and businesses, that's fair. She will talk about investments in what helps the American people, and she's incredibly practical. What you'll see on the other side is a former President Trump who is, chaotic, will govern based upon his mood at the moment, his anger. And, I think as a former business person, former governor, his economic proposals are really disastrous. Like if I were a business person and I heard a 20% tariff on every import and I watched him be so erratic and unpredictable, I think that's scary. Every business person deserves predictability. And so I think that's what I would be watching for. And I'd be looking to see the vice president evince who she is, pro-worker and pro-business at the same time, a collaborative problem solver.
Right. Gina, you talked about predictability, and I think one of the questions that we've had at this table for the last several weeks, actually, since the vice president has been the nominee, is what the predictability is going to be as it relates to the details of her programs, which I think are still amorphous, if you will, in terms of what they really are. I think we don't really know. We had a debate last week a little bit with Mark Cuban, who's been having some back-channel conversations with the Harris campaign. He's hearing certain things. We haven't heard all of them publicly. How much detail on all of these plans do you believe, and whether it's from the former president or whether it's from Harris, do you think that the American people deserve before they go to the polls, recognizing, by the way, that it's not just going to the polls physically in November. In some states, you're able to mail in now effectively. And so you would want the voters to know as much as humanly possible, I'd imagine.
Yes. Here's what I think is most important. Like, at the end of the day, I think Kamala Harris is being incredibly honest. She knows she has to work with Congress. Trump can throw out whatever he says about this tax policy, that tax policy. You actually have to get in there and work with Congress. The minutia. I don't think the American public are really interested in the minutia of, the mechanism of how she'll increase taxes on billionaires. Like, here's the important point, which is what
But I would assume there's not that many billionaires in the world. I recognize that, and there's a lot of people who'd say get out your smallest violin for the billionaires. But I would assume if you happen to be a billionaire and you happen to be an American citizen, you'd want to know how you were going to be impacted.
Here's what you know. Here's what's crystal clear. Trump wants to cut taxes on billionaires and cut taxes on corporations who don't need it. It will balloon the deficit, and ultimately, it's the average American worker who will pay. Kamala Harris has been crystal clear. Billionaires need to pay more. It is wrong that a school teacher, truck driver, construction worker pays more in taxes, a higher rate than a billionaire, and she says she will fix it. Exactly the mechanism. The American public doesn't have time to study the tax code. They want to know there's somebody in the Oval Office fighting for them, and she has been crystal clear. She will raise taxes on billionaires. She, more than anyone I've ever talked to running for president, and admittedly I have a small sample, she talks about innovation. She's obsessed with increasing innovation, helping startups, helping small businesses, and she's obsessed with making the wealthy and billionaires and big corporations pay more. This is actually